Carson Hocevar just made a move that has nothing to do with how he drives his race car, and honestly, it might be one of the smartest things he's done since he got to the Cup Series. We all know Hocevar for the chaos on the track, the bumping, the aggressive passes, the kind of racing that makes some fans jump out of their seats and other fans throw things at their TV. But earlier this week, on Wednesday, 4 March 2026, Sports Business Journal reporter Adam Stern dropped a report that changes the conversation around Hocevar completely. This isn't about wrecks or rivalries. This is about business, and Carson Hocevar is playing the game at a level most people didn't expect from someone this young. Here's what Stern reported. Carson Hocevar, the Spire Motorsports driver who has become one of the most polarizing names in the entire NASCAR Cup Series, is in advanced talks with Monster Energy for a personal services sponsorship deal. Now, if you don't know Monster Energy, you've probably been living under a rock. Monster Beverage Corporation has a market cap of roughly $75 billion. That's billion with a B. This is one of the biggest brands on the planet, and they want to work with Carson Hocevar. Now, let's be very clear about what this deal actually is, because there's a lot of hype floating around right now, and it's important to separate what's real from what's noise. According to Stern's report, this is a personal services agreement. That means Monster Energy would be partnering with Hocevar the person, not Spire Motorsports the team. We're talking about Monster logos on his helmet, Monster logos on his fire suit, personal branding content and appearances. This is not a primary sponsorship deal for the number 77 Spire Chevrolet. The car isn't suddenly going to be wrapped in Monster green and black. But here's the thing. Even though this isn't some massive anchor sponsorship for the whole race team, don't sleep on how big this actually is. A personal endorsement deal with a company the size of Monster Energy is a huge deal for any driver, let alone a young guy who hasn't even been in the Cup Series for that long. This puts Hocevar in a very exclusive club. Monster doesn't just slap their logo on anyone. They choose people who fit their brand, people who are bold, people who are exciting, people who bring energy and attention wherever they go. And if there's one driver in NASCAR right now who checks all of those boxes, it's Carson Hocevar. And that leads us to the real story here, which is how Hocevar got to this point, because it didn't happen by accident. Carson Hocevar came into the Cup Series and immediately made himself impossible to ignore. He races hard, sometimes too hard, depending on who you ask. He gets into it with other drivers. He doesn't back down from anyone, and because of that, a lot of fans have given him a label. They call him the villain, the bad guy of NASCAR, the driver you love to hate. But here's what a lot of those fans don't realize. Every single time they argue about Carson Hocevar online, every time they debate his driving on a podcast, every time a comment section blows up after one of his races, they are making him more valuable. Because in the world of sponsorships and endorsements, attention is everything. It doesn't matter if people love you or hate you. What matters is that they are watching you. And right now, everybody is watching Carson Hocevar. Don't just take my word for it either. Just this week, Dale Earnhardt Jr. said on his podcast that NASCAR needs Hocevar and his controversial driving style because it brings exactly this kind of attention and viewership to the sport. Think about that for a second. One of the most respected voices in the entire history of NASCAR is saying that Hocevar's aggressive, in-your-face approach is good for the sport. That's a massive stamp of approval. And it lines up perfectly with what we're seeing happen off the track with this Monster deal. When Dale Jr. says NASCAR needs someone like Hocevar, he's talking about the fact that the sport thrives on personalities. It always has. The biggest eras in NASCAR history were built around drivers who made you feel something. Whether it was love or anger, it didn't matter. What mattered was that fans cared. And fans care a whole lot about what Carson Hocevar does every single weekend. Monster Energy clearly sees the same thing. They've been around motorsports for years. They have a long history of working with some of the most exciting and aggressive athletes across multiple sports. From motocross to MMA to Formula One, Monster always picks the people who bring intensity and attitude. They know what works. They know which athletes bring eyeballs to the screen. And they looked at the entire Cup Series garage, at every single driver available, and said, "That's our guy. That tells you everything you need to know about the kind of brand Hocevar has built for himself in a very short amount of time. Now, some people are going to hear about this deal and roll their eyes. They're going to say, why does the guy who bumps people and causes problems get rewarded? And that's a fair question to ask, but the answer is simple. The market decides. Companies like Monster don't hand out endorsement deals because they think someone is polite. They hand them out because they think someone can get their brand in front of millions of people. And Hocevar does that every single race. This is actually a really important lesson for every young driver coming up through the ranks in NASCAR. Talent matters, race results matter, but your ability to create a brand around yourself, that might matter just as much. Look at the biggest names who ever sat in a Cup car. Almost all of them had personal endorsement deals outside of their team sponsorships. That's where the real money gets made for a driver individually. It's how careers get built beyond just what happens on Sunday. Hocevar understood that before a lot of other drivers his age did. He understood that being memorable is worth something. Being talked about is worth something. And now Monster Energy is about to put real dollars behind that belief. Let's also talk about what this means for the bigger picture. Even though this is a personal deal and not a team sponsorship, it still raises Hocevar's profile inside the Spire Motorsports organization. When your driver has a relationship with a brand as big as Monster Energy, that opens doors. It starts conversations. Other sponsors notice. Other companies start thinking, if Monster is in on this guy, maybe we should take a look too. So, while this deal might start with a helmet and a fire suit, the long-term effects could reach a lot further than that. Hocevar is also doing this at the perfect time. NASCAR has been working hard to attract new fans, younger viewers, and bigger corporate partners. The sport has been pushing social media, content creation, and making its drivers into real personalities that people connect with. Hocevar fits that vision perfectly. He's young, he's bold. He doesn't play it safe on the track or off it. He's exactly the kind of driver that a brand like Monster wants to be connected to because he represents something exciting and different. And remember, this is still just the beginning. Advanced talks don't always mean the deal is done. But the fact that a company with a $75 billion market cap is even sitting down at the table with a young Spire Motorsports driver says a lot. It says that Carson Hocevar is not just a race car driver. He's a brand. He's a business. He's someone that the biggest companies in the world see real value in. Whether the deal gets signed tomorrow or takes a few more weeks to finalize, the message is already out there. The rest of the garage is watching. Other teams are paying attention. Other sponsors are taking notes. Carson Hocevar's aggressive, polarizing, love him or hate him approach to racing is paying off in ways that go way beyond trophies. When Dale Earnhardt Jr. says the sport needs you, and Monster Energy wants to put their name on your helmet, you're doing something right. Love his driving style or hate it, Hocevar's villain persona is box office gold. The fans who cheer him make him popular. The fans who boo him make him famous. And now one of the biggest companies on the planet is ready to bet on it.